And yes, it looks like we are recording. All right. Well, welcome everybody back to Second Opinion Loan Officer Video Podcast. I have a special guest this week, David Xie, and I'm calling this a Second Opinion Spotlight because um, I meet a lot of people that are successful doing content marketing. And I want to do full disclosure on this one. David is a paying member of the Find My Way Home Expert Network. And I'll let him tell a little bit of that story, but this really isn't about how we did this, but the fact that David did this and that he saw this opportunity. And David, man, I really want to thank you. You know, one of the things that I admire most about you, and I think your thumbnail on this particular, I stole this off of one of your YouTube videos. Um, you're on vacation right now with your family and you're sneaking this in the morning. That's why my lighting is a little weird. The sun's not up yet, and I really appreciate this. And this is one of the things I appreciate most about you, is that by creating content, and we're going to show a couple examples, but by creating this content, you're prospecting while you're in Florida with your family, going to all of the Walt Disney World events and creating memories with your kids and your beautiful family. So thank you so much for being here, getting up and squeezing this in before hitting the roller coasters.
No, thank you, Scott. I mean, I tell you, you opened up a whole new world with, content creation to me. I thank you. So whatever I can do to help you and fellow loan officers out, that's really my goal in life is to, be able to do that because ultimately what we do is we give better value to the customers in the end with all of this.
100%. And this is, something I tell people all the time. You are brilliant. You're a super caring person. You're a super empathetic person. You're a guideline geek. You hate to say no, and nobody knows about it, right? Unless they
Mhm.
know somebody that knows you. And so all of these consumers, and let's face it, David, the overwhelming number of consumers, like literally thousands of consumers a day, are filling out forms because they think they can push a button and get a mortgage on the internet.
Mhm.
And it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't work. But that's where consumers are going to try to find information. So I've known you. We were in a coaching group. We're in Carl White's Freedom Club group together for a while. And I did a presentation called the Ultimate Referral Machine, which is one of the ways I describe content marketing pretty consistently. And that really is just saying that every time you create a video, you clone yourself, and you're deploying an army of clones of you out there on the internet answering people's questions when they Google a specific question. And I have some examples of that I want to go through. But why don't you first kind of why don't you kind of set up for me where your head was at, where you were at in your business, when you saw my presentation, what you pulled out of my presentation, and what really clicked for you in that.
So yeah, this was a couple years ago, I think now. We were in Florida, and I'll never forget that presentation. Every time we go to these events, it's always structured about the same. You have day one, it's like, hey, here's the introduction, and then we bring in a panel of speakers, and then we'll let other people talk about like how we can add value to your business and whatnot. And I think at that time when you were talking, I was a manager at a retail at a retail mortgage institution, and I was sitting there and I know two things. Okay, number one, my regional at that time was producing a lot of content, and that content, he was like, hey, David, this is bringing in you know X amount of leads every single month. Um, and then I was introduced to another guy that was on TikTok. He had like 1 million followers, and he just couldn't do loans in a multiple states. So, at that time, I could help customers in multiple states with our referral desk. So I was like, wow, this is a great opportunity. So um, I knew I couldn't rely on these sources that I had to keep my I guess my name, or the business um, in with the newer times. So I could do it the old way, and there's all these people in the coaching group and multiple coaching groups that are saying, hey, you do it this way, right? You dial for dollars, you make phone calls and this and that, and you talk to realtors and referral partners, and then you meet them in person, and that just wasn't that never put me in a position of being able to offer value to my real estate agents. So when I saw you making this presentation on stage, I said, "Wow, you know what? That's a lot of leads that he had up there that he's generated in these years." So that was my first initial like, "Wow, this is really impressive." And then the more I listened to it, and I talked to you and Josh about it. You said, "Hey, we're getting ready to start this Find My Way Home thing," and I was like, "Okay, tell me more about it." And I felt like at lunch, I was literally saying, "Okay, this is what I want. I wanna see what this is all about." And then when you guys told me it was, like, video and content creation, I was like, "Wow, this is really, like, 2 I'm killing 2 birds with 1 stone." You know? Um, at one point, I tried to do some YouTube videos, and you can probably look me up, and it was just absolute terrible, like, phone quality, imaging, it just was really, really bad.
And on a
And, I mean,
really
I
old
remember.
phone. Nowadays phones are like professional, but this is this is probably a few years ago, a few models ago, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, video is now in 4K, so I think when I was doing video, it was like 0.1K. So,
So,
uh, it was really, really, really bad. I mean, filters and everything, but, this what you had to offer, I'll never forget, I got the box in the mail. It was a iPad mini, there was a ring light, there was some microphones and tripods, and I was like, "Okay, these guys are pretty legit," I'm getting, like, Amazon boxes that I didn't order to the house, so that was pretty awesome. And then to get on one of the recording sessions and then have like a producer, I think Renee's been a producer since day one. Um,
yeah.
she just gives me so much comfort. Like if there's points in the video that I haven't covered at that point, she'd say, "Hey, David, can you answer this a little further?" And to have you guys produce it and everything, I looked at it as like an expense that I'm paying every single month for an extra employee. So it worked out for me, and it still worked out to this day. So
Well,
no, thanks for everything,
and
Scott.
oh, yeah, no, and I don't want this to be a commercial for Find My Way Home. I do think we solved this problem, and the problem is it's hard to do video. The problem is you're incredibly smart, you're incredibly experienced, and you're incredibly caring. And how do we put you in front of all of these consumers that have questions about qualifying for a mortgage? Because here's a secret, and I talk about this a lot. Consumers do not go online because they're trying to apply for a mortgage and get their phones blown up for 72 hours straight. They go online because they have questions about qualifying for a mortgage. But these big companies spend billions of dollars a year to convince them to fill out a form online. And, you know, we call that lead generation, and everybody knows that leads suck. And there's a lot of reasons for that. It's not that the lead sucks most of the time, but the way that the information is captured and the way that people follow up on it have always been challenges in the industry. So I try to solve that by giving people a specific reason to reach out to you. First of all, um, I had to come to terms with the fact that we're not going to get that first Google search. And that's why we're second opinion loan officers, because those consumers, we know that less than 2% of people that fill out a lead form online end up with a loan. So that means 98% of those people are going back online and asking more questions. And I kind of want to look at that a little bit. So I have a couple of your videos that I pulled out here. So to be honest, and I really want to lay this out because I don't want anybody to think that you're an overnight success, even though if somebody looked at you now, they'd be like, holy cow, how do I do that? And I'm going to tell you right now, you do the work. You put the time and the work in. So David's been doing this about 18 months. What we're looking at today is probably a time period of right around maybe 16 months. So it's almost 18, almost a year and a half. And these two videos really stood out for me because when interest rates were going up really high, you did a video about 9+ tips on how to refi using Fannie Mae. And you use so many great tips in this, like using the word Fannie Mae, and then tips for easy refi. Like this was really good. This was kind of part of our service, right? We help with we do the titles and the descriptions and the thumbnails and things like that. But I mean, that's ballsy a little bit. Interest rates shot up, doubled in like 90 days. And I think you published this video in October is what it looks like. So rates were up and you're in there and you're saying, okay, I know there's people out there that are looking for refinances. So you did that video and then you did this one on traveling nurses, and we'll talk about that in a second. But when we talk about leads, you know, when we pay for leads, if you've ever tried to do consumer direct and buy leads, you're getting a name and a phone number and maybe a credit score and how much they want to buy and all this stuff. But none of that stuff is really important to the consumer. Those are all reasons for us to determine whether or not we're excited about calling this lead or not. Right? Like if you see a lead and it's a 580 credit score and they just lost their job or something like that, you're probably not even going to call it. But when we start conversations with consumers, we're building our pipeline of people that know, like, and trust us. So even if they're not ready to buy right now, they're reaching out to us and they're just saying, hey, David, I need a second opinion. So the difference between a lead and somebody who watches your video is this. So this is how we capture communications from consumers that have questions about qualifying for a mortgage. So you were not only a second opinion on this one, I'm pretty sure you were like her third or fourth opinion. She was calling around and talking to people, but and I don't know if you can read this, but basically this person watched David's video, reached out to him and says, I'm looking to do a cash out refinance. I'm not sure which is best for my situation. And then she goes on to tell you what the interest rate is, what her current balance is, what her value of her property is. She clearly has equity there. She has a $50,000 tax lien that she tried to do an offer and compromise and couldn't get it accepted. She has a 741 credit score and $24,000 in credit card debt. Like, that's not a lead, my friend. That is a consumer that has questions about qualifying for a mortgage. They go on the internet and they can't get past the kid in the call center. Luckily, you had created a video so that she could see you, and reach out to you. And I don't know what you ended up doing with this person. And quite frankly, it's not really important because what we're talking about right now, when we're recording this, this is the end of December 2022. It is brutal out there. And yes, there are loans to be had, but most of the people that want loans need loans. So we're in the process right now. What I'm trying to tell everybody, this is a market for building your database. Get this kind of person in your database because in October, interest rates were probably up in the 7s. Today, those interest rates are down in the 6s. So even if you did do a refinance for her at 7 1/8 and it's 6 1/4 today, well, you don't want to get your early payoff, right? But you're calling this person and saying, hey, listen, in about 3 months, let's see if interest rates go any lower. And if they do, let's do a refinance. If they don't, let's do a refinance because I can already lower your payments by this much. So, and she already has this relationship with you, and there's already this trust. This one I thought was really cool. So, part of what we do in our network, and I do this for free for everybody. So anybody can get this same information that David did. The only difference between David and everyone else on the planet is that David didn't ask questions and he just did it. right? But
That's
part of
true.
one of the things that we do is we give everybody a subscription to Mortgage Currency. If you're not familiar with Mortgage Currency, you should be. They basically put out all of the guideline changes across all of the loan programs, and it is an absolute goldmine for content. So we saw this topic that they highlighted in October, I think, September or October. And it was about how to do all of the different guidelines across all platforms for traveling nurses. And this is really just an income. It's income and hours and employers, right? So the
Mhm.
nurses, sometimes they contract with different hospitals. They don't work 40 hours a week. They don't get paychecks necessarily from one place. They have all these different employers. So there's hair on it. A kid in a call center in Detroit is not going to know what to do with this person. So when I brought this up on one of our mastermind calls, I said, listen, you guys, this is the kind of content that people are going to need help with. Telemarketers are not going to be able to handle traveling nurses. And we had a little incident that some people may remember from the last couple of years, that traveling nurses were about the single most important people on the planet for almost 2 years, and
Mhm.
they were close to the only ones that were employed. um, and again, I want to reiterate, this is how this comes across. So this particular person, oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. So you published this article in August, and I counted, this was a week or so ago, I counted 13 nurses that reached out to you directly, um, basically like this. And they said, hey, I'm a traveling nurse. I own a duplex in Washington. It'll be a year on December 14th. So it's officially a year. She wants to rent it out fully, convert it into a rental property, and she wants to buy a new primary residence in this price range, and she has 5 to 10% down, and she wants to buy in 2 to 3 months, um, and she wants to buy out of state. These are not leads. These are consumers. These folks, Kristen is out there doing her homework, and then when she finds you, you are going to stand out. You're going to stand out from anybody else that's out there. Tell me a little bit, about your experience with these nurses, because this nurses aren't the only niche that you dialed into. You hit short-term rentals really hard too, right? So tell me a little bit
Yeah.
about what that was like, because you've been successful now on kind of grabbing a couple of these topics that I recommended as, hey, these are going to be high traffic, high conversion topics, and you just kind of ran with them. So tell me a little bit about that experience.
So I tell you, we're blessed with a lot of different things, and you hit on a couple of the topics, right? Mortgage currency. At my current employer, we have a thing called loan officer support, and what I usually do is I go on there, and when I make contact with someone or I'm talking to someone, Scott, I'm always like, I'm like Investor Gadget or Curious George is how I like to think about it, right? I want to know, hey, what are some of the problems that we're experiencing right now? I don't care whether it's loan officer support, an account executive that I'm talking to, another loan officer in the industry. I always say, "Hey, what's holding your batting average down? Like, what is it that that is the biggest challenge right now, right?" And you know, I'll also take a look at other content creators out there and see what they're creating. And if everyone's creating the same thing, I'm not going to go in there. Yes, I do need to create the same video, kind of. However, I need to look at something that no one else is attacking, right? So during the refi boom, I would be talking to real estate agents, and real estate agents didn't get a lot of love during the refi boom, right? So,
Yep.
okay, now I'm
Smart.
giving real estate agents a lot of love. No one else is. And now real estate agents are like, wow, my regular loan officer is not talking to me anyway. So let me see what I can do. So that's how I came up with the refi video. No one else is talking about refis now. Why not talk about refis? And that's been a really successful topic that, I didn't even put two and two together until you kind of like brought that up and showed me the contact that I had. So that loan's actually closed. Um, The travel nurse, once again, Mortgage Currency kind of brought that to my attention, saying, "Hey, this is an issue right now. This is definitely an issue on travel nurses." So, I learned everything that I already knew about travel nurses, and then I went in and I dove even deeper to learn more about travel nurses. And
Yeah.
before I put out this video and put out the content, so if I received the 13 contacts, up until a week ago, I probably talked to another one or two travel. I know I talked to at least two travel nurses, and at least one of them has applied for a loan already. So
You
it's
said
it's
you
been
said that you're able to help almost a third of these people are turning into applications and going into process. Is that right? So maybe out of 13 to 15, maybe 4 or 5 of them, you think?
yeah, I can 100%. I can say that we've done at least 4 or 5 travel nurse loans since
That's
this
a
video has
that's
come
a
out.
really high batting average, man. That's pretty good. That's Hall of
It
Fame
is.
numbers right there, my friend. Being a
Yes.
baseball fan yourself.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah, this video, like, the beauty about all of this is just like you said, right? We all know leads suck. They do suck, right? Some of us have paid into what realtors want, like, hey, let's buy some Zillow leads, or let's buy some Boomtown leads, or
Yeah.
any of these other leads out there, right? That are not warm leads. I would say they're a step above, like, ice cold, like a step above door knocking. Okay. Um, and even in our platform, we'll get a couple of, like, "Hey, this is the wrong phone number," or someone put in a fake phone number. But I don't understand why they would do that if they put a real email address in there, other than like a mistype. So
Well,
I would
it's
say,
probably because they just got pounded by telemarketers because we're their second opinion, right? They probably went online, filled out a lead form, got their phone, their text, their email completely blown up by telemarketers, and they're like, I don't want that to happen again. And so they're putting in some of the info. They're like, okay, I'll take the emails, but I don't want the phone calls and the texts. I mean, I
mhm.
I think there's a little bit of that. Where the consumers are trained that that's the easiest way to do it, and it's also the most painful way to do it after they get into it.
Yeah, so this way, when we put content out there, like, there is a really high intent. Um, so, like, this customer right here, has applied already, and this is a very high intent, because she's like, "Hey, I know that travel nursing is an issue. I've talked to other lenders that have told me that it is an issue." Um, so when she called me, we kind of restructured this loan to make it work and get it to qualify. But we were able to make it work. So that's the difference, is, like, when you call other leads, like, 1 out of 10 of them really want to talk to you. This one right here, the batting average improves, right? I wouldn't say all of them want to talk to you, but I would say maybe 50%, 60% want to talk to you. They've already watched your video. They know what you're talking about. They like what you have said, and they want to get more information. So this is the difference between, like, what we do here and the loan officer in a call center in Michigan.
And I would also say, you know, I don't quite know how to transition the industry out of this, but I hate the word lead because these aren't leads, they're families that have questions about qualifying for a mortgage. We like to capture their information and call it a lead, but these are really just people that are doing internet searches and they have questions and they want to get answers. It doesn't mean we can help 100% of them, but it does mean we can be there to kind of help them and kind of guide them through. And a big part of what we do, and the other thing about leads is if you don't have a tech stack to follow up on those leads right away, and then if they're not ready to buy now or they're not ready to move now, to nurture them long term, just get them in your database and keep reminding them of why they contacted you in the first place. And that's what you're able to do with content too, right? So anybody that doesn't buy, you're sending them your content that you're creating every single week. So let me fast forward a little bit because you started You started and you were doing one video session a month. So it was like an hour, and you would do 3 to 5 short videos, and we would publish one video a week for you and promote it and push it out there. Um, how much are you recording now?
So I'm recording probably every week to week and a half now. Um,
And you're doing
I
still 4 to 6 videos like once a week now?
Yeah, yeah. So it's been something that I tell you the hardest part of doing video, Scott, is like it's not doing the video. It's not coming up with the content. The hardest part of it is like getting it published, editing it, doing all the things that I don't like to do. And this comes down to like how I do mortgages too, right? It's like, in that coaching group that we were in, it's like, hey, what are we really good at? And why aren't we spending more time doing what we're really good at instead of like spending time, let's say, getting a document signed, right? You can get um, one of your coworkers to help get the document signed. And if it's given you the ability to do more of what you're good at, then that's the best way of doing it. So I can do the videos. I can come up with the content. I remember when I was flying to the last event that I did on the airplane. I had a Word document up, and I was just dumping information inside my head into that form. So mind dumping, right? So once I
Yeah.
did that, I would go through while I'm in the hotel room waiting to go to sleep or going to the next event. It's like, okay, I'm scratching out things I don't like, and then now I'm just narrowing it down to something that I really like, and then finally, on the day of the recording session, it's really easy to do. You guys have a little calendar that I go in through Calendly and schedule a time. Um, and then, at that time, I just have to be ready for what I'm going to be talking about. So, um, once it's done, I don't have to do all the heavy lifting. The heavy lifting to me would be that editing, the captioning, all this other stuff that, other than putting the content out there. And then you guys help publish it. So that's great. So when I'm looking down, it's putting an image in place while I'm talking. So I'm still talking, but the image is always still looking forward. So doing all of that stuff, putting it on all the social media platforms for me, has really like saved me a lot of time. So it's 1 hour of dedication a week for making the content, about a 30-minute brain dumping session. And it's on from there. There may be some research time if I needed that. Um, but like you said, I really love guidelines. I really love those intricate
You're
puzzles
sick,
that you
man.
have to put together. Yeah.
That's right. No, that's right. All right, man. Well, I wanna come in for a landing here because I promised you I'd get you out there. I'm surprised your kids aren't hanging off you because they want to go see Mickey. So here's a really good example. This came in yesterday, and so I just threw this in here. This is really funny. This came in, and I was like, "Oh, David got another direct contact from his videos," and I'm looking at it, and it says, hey David, this is somebody that knows you. We're this family, and you worked with us in the past, just seeking it, just checking to see if you do refinance. Now, the beauty of this, and this is what I try to tell people, but until you experience it, you don't really fully understand it. Um, do you remember how long ago you helped this family purchase their house?
Wow. I mean, this is really, really going back. So, I would say this is at least 4 years ago.
S-
Um,
So, so what this family did is, because you did an amazing job with these folks. You've since moved companies twice, right? Since you probably did
yes.
this loan, if it's been 4 years, you've moved companies twice. Um, so they remembered your name. They went online, they typed in your name, and your videos from Find My Way Home showed up, like that were being
Mhm.
published through our platform. So they found you on the website, Find My Way Home. They reached out to you directly, and they're like, hey, I just want to see if you can do a refinance. This is the ultimate referral machine. This is what we're talking about. You have an army of clones of David Xie's out there being brilliant. And not only these new consumers, that have questions about qualifying for a mortgage, but your past clients that just misplaced your card, which probably isn't any good because it's 2 companies ago. They went online, they Googled your name, and they found you. And this is while you're on vacation. So this is happening while you're on vacation because you have an army of clones of you out there. So um, I hope this one converts for you. So what I want to wrap this up real quick. So David is part of our paid membership, which I'll talk to you about in a second. But these conversations, these topics, like the nurse topics, short-term rentals, duplexes, owner-occupied duplexes is really big right now, and all your first-time homebuyer programs, for content ideas, and to just be a part of a community of creators, content creators that we're all thinking about this. We've set up this free community. You can go to findmywayhome.com/solo for Second Opinion Loan Officer. That's SOLO. And that's a free community. Go in there, introduce yourself, read our articles, and you can get more information. You can just be a part of the community. Uh, or if you're looking for a done for you solution, like what David has kind of described, we will introduce you to consumers that are looking for a second opinion now, because we get a lot of traffic. We get tens of thousands of visitors a month to the website that are looking for experts like David. So we can introduce you to those consumers now while we're helping you build your video content to build your ultimate referral machine over time. So at the Find My Way Home Expert Network, we will inspire, direct, produce, publish, promote. We're going to capture those contacts. We're going to follow up on those leads for you. We're going to convert them into conversations. And if they're not ready to buy now, we're going to nurture those over time by continuing to put your content in front of them over time until they are ready to buy. So you can get more information on that either below in the show notes if you're listening on the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube. You'll see a link to the free community. There's links to the paid community. You can find my Calendly link anywhere. Schedule a call with me or track David down. People do that all the time, right? A lot of loan
They do.
officers see me on podcasts and they call up David. They're like, "Okay, man, how true is any of this stuff, if at all?" So David's happy to talk to anybody. But buddy, I really, really appreciate you being on here. You are, to me, you are like the perfect example of the kind of person that I wish every consumer on the planet knew about, because they have their best chance of achieving their dreams if they can get connected with somebody like you that loves guidelines, that cares about people. And I'm just so grateful that you decided to go on this journey with us, and that you're sharing this experience with more people, because yes, it can be a little complex if you try to do all this stuff yourself, but it's not hard. It's simple to get the stuff that's in your brain out there to share with consumers. So, um, man, I hope you have a great new year. And this was a little longer than I wanted to keep you, but I am going to release you back to the mouse. And I hope you have a happy new year. And I can't wait to see what you do next year. So thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for everything, Scott. I mean, couldn't have really imagined doing all this without, without you guys. Like you mentioned a couple times. I mean, this is like not only help me create this content that's going to be out there for as long as I do mortgages, and maybe even after I do mortgages, this content's going to be out there.
Yeah.
But it gives me that search engine optimization, that allows my other previous customers to find me and things like that. So um, thanks for the
And
platform.
I've
Thanks
seen
for putting
your
this all
and I've seen
together.
your and I've seen your confidence just build like
Hmm.
crazy. You're almost unstoppable on video now. Before you were kind of reluctant to do it, and not super reluctant, but now you've just got the bug. Now you just can't put your camera down.
Yeah, I mean, if we have any content ideas and y'all want me to talk about it, please shoot me a direct text message, 757-478-8493. I love talking about different topics that no one else wants to deal with, like you know, the travel nurses and you know, union pay and all this other like craziness. So yeah, um, that's the hard part for me right now is just coming up with more ideas. But you're constantly, you know, adding value to the network and everything, and you know, with that, I can't be thankful enough, you know, for everything that you guys do and the solo community and everything. I'm not getting paid to do any of this, so this is all legit, real talk right here.
Thanks, brother. With that, I'll let you go. Have a happy new
Okay,
year,
all right, man.
and we'll see you
All right,
next time.
thanks.
All right,
All right,
bye.
bye.